Howdy everybody, this is Emmett Watkins Jr., also known as EJ161 on various places around the internet, and I am here just going through the games that most spoke to me at E3 2018. Just got 10 games here, a couple honorable mentions at the end as well, but this E3 was very impressive for me. I feel like there were more games this E3 that appealed to me than ever before. I don't remember this many games really speaking to me. And you'll be able to tell, especially from the really long honorable mention section that I have. But let's go ahead and get into it without further ado, and also stay tuned towards the end. I have a little bit of a surprise there. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get on to the first game. As someone who has been a casual fan of the Battlefield series, Battlefield V, or 5, really impressed me with the showing at E3. The addition of fortifications makes so much sense, and with the destruction of previous games, it only makes sense to add the ability to create structures as well as tear them down. Gunplay looks to be better than before, especially with the addition of consistent, non-random recoil patterns for each weapon. Movement seems to be smoother, and the player seems to have a wider range of motion when going prone and maneuvering the battlefield. And even though it wasn't shown at the show, I trust DICE to pull off a compelling Battle Royale mode much more than other AAA developers in this space. With the removal of Season Pass and the return of War Stories, I'm very excited to get my hands on Battlefield 5. I was very skeptical once rumors of Fallout 76 being an online game started to come out. As someone who adores Fallout 3 and Skyrim, and likes Fallout 4 a whole lot, the idea of the series changing its core aspects to such a fundamental level scared me. But after its presentation during the Bethesda press conference and a wonderful documentary by Danny O'Dwyer's No Clip, my concerns have been lessened substantially. While I don't think I'll get the same engrossing narrative as the previous games, 76 does seem to offer a compelling experience to go through with friends. What multiplayer games like The Division and Destiny lack is the feeling that you are progressing towards anything substantial other than raising your own stats. Even though I didn't care for the settlement building in Fallout 4, building whole towns in 76 with friends sounds great, especially with that cool looking group photo mode. And I know that the exploration and gunplay, while not amazing, will remain solid in multiplayer. Surprisingly, I'm excited about 76, and while I still don't think it's a must-buy quite yet, I'm finally interested to get my hands on it just so I can find out for myself. I couldn't tell you the story behind my friend Pedro, but all I need to know is how dope the gameplay looks. As you can see, you can create some really insane action set pieces and beautiful slow motion kills throughout. Still, there's a lot I don't know about the game. How many levels are there? How many weapons are there? How frequent are the vehicular missions? How does individually aiming two weapons while moving work? Still, the style alone is selling me on the game, and if the gameplay is as great as it looks, it'll be yet another outstanding indie game from Devolver Digital. As someone who has only played Mass Effect 2 so far, I didn't have too many expectations set for Anthem. Based off of what they showed last year, it seemed like yet another Destiny-style online loot game from BioWare. However, the traversal mechanics have really sold me. As someone who loves Infamous and Saints Row 4, I was hoping that full-on flight mechanics could one day be nailed down. And from the sound and looks of it, it finally has. While the game does seem to have satisfying combat and interesting world design, compelling traversal mechanics is really the aspect that I've been wanting to see brought to this genre. So I'm very excited to get my hands on it sometime soon. Rage 2 seems to be taking the series into a much more appealing direction for me. I played the original Rage, but other than the satisfying combat and insanely good animation system, there wasn't much good to report. But the sequel takes a lot of DNA from games I've grown to love since I played that first title. id Software's outstanding shooting mechanics have been brought to the combat once again, and the physics-based fun and vast open world design of Avalanche Studios has been brought over as well. And most surprisingly, the tone has gotten much more zany and has many more parallels to Borderlands. Since Borderlands 3 doesn't seem to be coming anytime soon, Rage 2 looks to not only be a great alternative to someone who only really played those games in single player, but it also seems to add and change aspects of those games. Borderlands sometimes felt like a soulless grind through meaningless side quests and an endless mission to raise stats, but Rage 2's progression seems to be a little bit more impactful. I can't wait to see how the full game shapes up once it drops sometime next year. As someone who loves the previous two Metro games, I was unsure how Metro Exodus would play as an open world title. But after seeing some extended gameplay, I can say that my fears were once again extinguished. The engrossing atmosphere of Metro Last Light and 2033 remains, and with it comes the stealth and combat balance of the last two games as well. The primary difference here is that the open world allows for more freeform gameplay. Instead of needing to hit up a workbench to modify your weapons and equipment, you can now do so on the fly, and the interface for doing so is really slick. And while upgrading your equipment is still tied to workbenches, you can now upgrade not only your weapons but also armor, throwables, and other items as well. Now that the game has gotten so much more open with its combat encounters and modification systems, it seems like Exodus is a post-apocalyptic Russian Far Cry game now, and that is something that couldn't appeal more to me. Very excited for this one. With the first game being one of my favorites, I already knew that The Last of Us Part 2 would blow me away. But even so, I was still in awe of the footage that they brought to the show. The animations in the game look unreal, like I legitimately doubted if that was real gameplay for days after it was shown. The way Ellie's nose bends during that kiss was incredibly detailed, and the way that characters respond to hits and search the environment really impressed me. And I'm so glad to see that stealth has been expanded, as you can now go prone and get into previously inaccessible areas of the environment. I don't need to really know anything more about the story, as I trust Naughty Dog to deliver on it, and now that I've seen gameplay, I know I'll enjoy what I'll be doing for those 12 plus hours. Now all I need is some information on multiplayer, which was an excellent addition to the last game, and I'll be even more sold on it. With the game releasing in just about 3 months, it feels a little bit cheap to add this to my list, but it would also be a crime to ignore just how great Insomniac Spider-Man is shaping up. Now that I know the mechanics behind web swinging and traversal, I can see myself enjoying it as I clear out the map throughout the game. And the debut of all these somewhat obscure villains has me excited, especially as someone who became a Spider-Man fan through the movies primarily. Plus, the signature charm that Insomniac is known for is in full force here, as shown by the way Peter Parker interacts with civilians and quips during combat. I'm so excited to finally get my hands on it and step into the shoes of my favorite hero. I may have only recently begun my journey in Origins, but I'm already incredibly excited for its follow-up, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Much of the combat and gameplay structure has been brought over from the last game, but the RPG elements have been widely expanded. I can now choose between a male or female protagonist, and you probably know which one I'm going to choose, and there are now dialogue choices and romance options, and in combat they've added customizable abilities similar to Darksiders 2. This is a direction that I'm very glad to see the series is going in, and I can't wait to be a badass Greek woman come October. And now, before we get to number 1, I just want to go through a handful of games that I really dig but didn't quite make the list for whatever reason, didn't see enough of it or didn't blow me away that much. So yeah, we're going to run through these real quick. So Cyberpunk 2077 sounds great. And I really dig the aesthetic of the CGI trailer, but I needed some gameplay in order to be completely sold on the game. I do trust CD Projekt Red to deliver a great game in a setting that I care about much more than fantasy, but you know, just need gameplay. World War Z looks like a third-person Left 4 Dead, and the zombie horde physics look really impressive, but just wanting to see some more from that. Control looks like a really cool supernatural shooter, and I can't wait to see just how Remedy gets weird with its world story and gameplay, but once again, need to see more. Dying Light 2 looks like an impressively ambitious follow-up to the first game, which I still need to play, or still need to beat. And I can't wait to see what its largely improved story will finally add as far as improvements to the narrative and whatnot. And I can't wait to see how the parkour and combat systems have also been improved. I just want to see like an extended demo of that one as well. Can't wait to see how that one shapes up. Resident Evil 2 looks really phenomenal, and as someone who beat Resident Evil 4 for the first time this year, I can't wait to play yet another game in that series in that style. Shadow of the Tomb Raider looks like more Tomb Raider, which I do dig, and I'm interested to see what a darker storyline will do to Laura's character. Moving on to Kingdom Hearts 3, it looks phenomenal, especially with the Toy Story and Pirates of the Caribbean worlds. I still doubt I'll play the final game since there's so much catching up to do with all these previous titles and the convoluted storylines, but I will say the Disney fan in me is pretty hype about this game, and you know, it looks great every time I see it. Spyro Remastered Trilogy, or Reignited Trilogy, it looks outstanding, and I can't wait to replay these games finally in September and go ahead and relive the first game I ever played with Spyro 1 especially. Now, I'm baffled by the new direction of the Adventures of Captain Spirit. but I am very excited for it just to see how it teases the second full season of Life is Strange, and I just want to see what those connections are. The Walking Dead's final season is making a lot of changes to core gameplay, and along with the compelling story of one of my favorite game characters of all time, has me more excited just seeing all these changes they've made, third-person camera and everything. It's looking really, really cool. And then finally, Overcooked 2 seems to be more competitive kitchen fun, but the addition of online multiplayer, and now that you can throw items, will surely improve my time a bit. So yeah, those are the honorable mentions, and we're going to go ahead and move on with the final game.
We never got to dance.
Dreams is legitimately the most impressive game I've probably ever seen. I've been watching streams and videos about the game for months, but the stuff that they've been showing in the lead up and at E3 this year is truly amazing. The breadth of tools available in the game is impressive, but the ease of which you use them is what really has me interested. I've played all of Media Molecule's games, including Little Big Planet 1 and 2, but I've rarely been compelled to actually make anything and create in those games. Creation felt so rigid and required so much prior knowledge that I spent most of my hours just playing the creations from other people. But while I'm sure that most of my time will be spent seeing the creations of others, the tools in Dreams make me feel like anything I can think of is truly possible this time. I've thought of music videos, stand-up sets, music tracks, WarioWare-esque minigames, and a lot more over the last few days, and I can't wait to see if I can make those concepts a reality within Dreams once it releases sometime next year probably, and once I get my hands on that beta this year hopefully. And that's pretty much it for the games that I found most compelling this year at E3. Like I said, a large variety of games that I found interesting this year, way more than other years previous, and it's very exciting. I'm very excited for the future of the industry. Lots of good games to look forward to coming this year and beyond, so I just can't wait to see what the future holds, and the future looks very bright indeed for video games. And as I was saying, that surprise that I teased at the beginning of the video, that surprise is going to be a game from the developer Zoink Games. You might know them from other titles such as Stick It to the Man, but they are soon coming out with Ghost Giant, which is going to be on PlayStation VR. And I have a code, not for Ghost Giant because that is not out yet, but I have a code for one of their past titles, and it's going to be Zombie Vikings. Zombie Vikings is the code I'm giving away, and on the screen right now you'll be able to see that code displayed. And please do go in the comment section if you do redeem this. Let people know that the code has already been claimed once it is gone. But yeah, Zombie Vikings, it's a pretty cool, beat 'em up type title. And their art style is on point in pretty much every game they make, and this game is no exception. So yeah, there you go. Go ahead and enjoy that one, and I might add one or two other codes down there in the description. I have a whole bunch of codes from the PlayStation E3 event that they do in theaters around the country. So I have plenty of codes from that. I'm not going to use all of them, I don't think. So I might throw one or two of them down there. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. And also, I talked primarily about games throughout this video, but if you want my impressions on the PlayStation press conference, or I guess press showcase that they had right before E3, I actually did do a write-up on that over on Los Haro, or Los Haro. Not sure how you pronounce it, I don't want to do it wrong, but Los Haro is where I wrote my write-up there, so feel free to check that up. It's a little bit of an overview, and then, putting a little bit of my opinion on it at the end. So please do feel free to check that out. And without further ado, that is it for this video. I'm glad that you guys watched it with me, or I'm glad you guys stuck with me to watch it, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. And I got some pretty cool things coming up in the next few weeks, so can't wait to share them with you. So without further ado, keep it real, keep it trill.